Hey guys, this is Joseph from Jouleconcepts. I hope everything is fine with you guys. Last week I was working with a model and I tried searching some things online. I saw golf ball and I thought I should create something similar, of which some times back I watched some tutorials about creating different balls and different sports balls, and I thought I should bring it out. So if you look at something I have made, you can see this looks more like a golf ball. You have some small hollows and some bigger hollow and a medium one. I also have another scene which I rendered. I just made some trees and around that. So in this tutorial what we're going to be looking at is how to create this golf ball. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. We're going to start by creating a spherical primitive object by going here, go to sphere rather. Then the next thing is if I hit NB, it shows me the wireframe mode. It's the same thing that's going to display, and gauge shading with line. So the reason why I'm bringing you here is so that you can see the way the wires makes up this. You have all the wires coming, or all the lines coming and ending at a point. This point is called a pole, and the more the lines that comes here will determine what kind of pole we have. So if you have more than 4 lines coming into this place, you are going to have a complex pole, and this is not good for modeling. So what we need is to change the distribution of the wire for this sphere. And luckily for us, if you go to this sphere and go to the attribute of the sphere, you go to the object tab, you have the types that you can choose. The first one is standard. They have tetrahedron, and if you start hitting down, you have hexahedron, but the one we want is the icosahedron, and that has an equal distribution of this sphere, and that is what we want. So once we have this, we can hit this make editable. So it edits this, it makes it an editable object so that we can start working on the points and manipulating the points. So once we have that, we'll go to this mode, Polygon Mode, Ctrl A to select all. Then if I right click, I can go to my subdivision surface. If you go to the cogwheel beside the subdivide, you have the number of subdivision you want and smooth. Now we need to click this smooth subdivision, but I will show you what will happen if you don't click that. If you just click on OK, you have all this wire furtherly subdivided one time. But we want to have in such a way that we have all these spheres that we're going to extrude inward for us to create the golf ball, and this will not work for us. So I'm going to undo, right click and go back to this, and the only thing I'm going to do is click on this smooth subdivision and click OK. You see that the distribution is different. We now have all these partitions and all and points. Now if you come into this place, you notice that if I go to point mode, there are some points that have how many edges. If you notice, there is this point has this point here has 1 2 3 4 5 6 edges joined to it. The next one here has 6 edges, but there is a particular point. If I move, you notice it has 1 2 3 4 5. So this is letting you know that okay, this sphere, some of them will have more than 5 edges joined to them, and one will have 5 and some. So that will also help us in creating the realism in the golf ball, because if you notice the golf ball, some of the holes are smaller compared to some and all that. So that is that. So but then the next one to do is select all these points that have edges attached to it, all the ones in the middle of all these polygonal points. So how can we select all these things? Now if you are to do the selection all through like this, it's going to be tedious and hectic for us, but there is a way we can select this. There is a way we can select all the points that are inside these polygonal points without having to select them individually and go, and that can be done in the modeling settings. And this modeling setting, I think I'm going to break it down a little bit, so in the later tutorial I'm going to talk about just the modeling settings so you understand how it works. So how we can go to that setting is going to this mode. Once you have the object, you want to check the setting on. I have it selected. You go to mode, then you go to modeling. That comes up here. The shortcut for that is Shift M. So if I deselect and just select this, if I hit Shift M on my keyboard, it takes me to this modeling settings. Then you have the snap, quantize, and mesh check. So like I said, I'm going to explain this in detail in the later tutorial. But for this one, we want to go over to the mesh checking. So I will activate this mesh checking. Once I enable it, you have that my object changes color, and this is just to check the mesh. If you notice, the color of this is purple, and it's telling you that all complex poles should have a purple color. You see these light pink color or peach, it's telling you that they are not planar, polygonal, or so all that. So it's just to give you a check. But what we want is to select the points. So we want to select all the points that have 6 edges selected. Like I said, they are complex poles. Complex poles are made up of points that have more than 4 edges connected to it. So if you have 5 edges connected, 6, 7, 8, or they make up a complex pole. So now if you come here, you have the complex pole. If I deactivate, you notice nothing is selected. But I need to activate complex pole and choose how many edges that I want selected. So I want to select all the points that have 6 edges selected. So the default value we have is 6. So as soon as I click on select, it selects all those things. If I disable this, you have all these selected except this one, all those ones that have 5 edges. So we're coming back to that in a bit. So once you have this selected, you go to select and set selection. That is selected. Then I will deselect this selection, go back to the object, then Shift M also activates. This time I'm going to change this to 5 and select. Then if I disable this, I have everything selected now, both the 6 points and the 5 edges, sorry, the 6 edges and the 5 edges connection. So what I need to do for me to select only this 5 is just go to this one, go to this 6 that I made, then deselect the points. So I'm going to have only the 5 edges selected. So the next thing now is to make sure I don't select this. So I can just select this here and come to this object, click on select, set selection. So I have my 2 selections. So if I double click this, I have the 6, and if I double click this, I have the 5 selected. So what I'm going to do now is select this 6 edge and start beveling. And by the way, tutorials for bevel, I made a tutorial and you're going to see it at the top. Just click on the link, and if you want to learn more about the bevel tool, how it works, so you check that. If I hit MS, that's a shortcut for bevel. All these things are explained in that tutorial, so you could just check it out. So I'm going to click and drag, and before I even do that, I'm going to undo. I need to make sure that funk break rounding is off, so that by the time I start subdividing, I don't have lines or breaking in my edges and all that. So if I deselect this, I can click and drag. So as I'm clicking, I needed to check some things. Some of the edges get closer. If you look like here now, some of them are close compared to the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to my view. Before I start, bring this part to my view and start beveling this edge until I see the one close to it. I don't want to overlap like this. Can you see? I don't want that. So I'm going to come out until it just close. Once I have that, I'll stop my selection or beveling. Notice some are very close and some are far off. And we'll select this 6 points or the 5 points and do the same thing and bevel until it is just close and not overlapping. So once we have that, the next thing is to try and solve for this large part of this object. So how can we do that? That can be done by selecting all these polygons. So if I go to polygon, selecting all these polygons here. So how can we do the selection of all these polygons? Can we, instead of me clicking individually all through, is there a way for me to select, to automate this selection, so I don't go through the hassle of doing this and going around the object? Yeah, there is a way to do that, and that can be seen in our structure manager. So once you have this object selected, you go to window, you go to structure manager. Then structure manager will show you different mode for selecting this. You have point selection, so it gives, if I select this point for instance, it's going to tell me those, I'm going to try and select the point. Can notice once I select point 0, 0 is selected here. Select this is selected. If I select this for instance, that is selected. But what we want is not points, we want n-gon. So polygons means you have 4 edges, or you have 4 sides. N-gon is you have more than 4, 5, 6, 7 and all that. So this is, all these polygons are n-gons, they are not polygons actually. So for us to change this mode from point to n-gon, we go to mode, we go to n-gon. So if we click n-gons, then we can now have these n-gons. If you look at the n-gons, we have points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have P6. Remember when we were creating this, some of these have 4 edges and 5 edges and 6 edges. So if you notice, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges. So all these polygons that have 5 edges will have this, and the ones that have 6 edges will have that. So we want to select all those that have 6 edges alone. Alright, so if I click here and I hold down Ctrl to select, it doesn't do a normal selection, adding to selection, but if I hold Shift, it selects. So do I have to start doing that until I come down here? Can you see the long path? It's going to be tedious. Or if I click here and I go to the end and hold down Shift, it doesn't do the normal Shift selection. So, but the way to go about this is going to edit, area selection, or select area. Then just click on this and move up until you get to the end of the 6 points. So just bear with me while I go. I think this is it here, so I'll let go here. I have all this selection. Then I can come to this object, go to select and set selection. So the next thing I'm going to do is make sure I select this object and start selecting, adding this to my selection. Those ones with 5 points or 5 edges. So hold down Shift, click until I have everything added into the selection. So just bear with me while I do this. Okay, I think I'm done with the selection. Everything is selected. Make sure this polygon is not selected. Then come here, add selection. So I have the one with only 6 and I have the one with everything selected. So once I'm going to go back to the one with 6 selection. What I'm going to do now is deselect these polygons around all the 5 edges. So all these 5 edges that are not selected, I want to deselect all these edges. So I'll hold down Ctrl, go to my selection mode, hold down Ctrl and deselect all this. So I'm going to do that all through the polygon until I have everything deselected. Okay, so just bear with me. You could also continue in yours. Modeling is sweet and sometimes tedious. So once you're working on it and you're modeling, all you just need to do is love up on your modeling skills and what you're doing. Just enjoy the flow and it will be interesting to you. Alright, so, and by the way, I hope I'm now, Ctrl Z. I hope I now talk better than I started. I'm trying my best to be loud and all this shouting and all that. So I'm trying my best to do that. for you guys, so just bear with me. It takes time to change from being an introvert to something else, but I think I'm done with this. Yeah, that is it. That's pretty much everything. So I have everything selected. So once I have all this selected, I'm going to zoom into this, just one part of this object here. Once I zoom in, then I'm going to right click on anywhere, just right click. I'll go to normal scale. Now I'm going to go over a series talking about this normal, the difference between normal, move, scale, rotate, align, normal, and all this. So I'm going to talk extensively about that, but for this tutorial, the one I know that we need is normal scale, because we want to scale this end gun. So we go to scale and I click up, I scale it up until I'm just close to it, not intersecting. So I just want something close like this. Then once I have that, and that should be fine for me. So I could go on if I want to have a more accurate information. I could go on and start deselecting and working on all this individually, but this is for tutorial purpose, so I think I'm going to stop here. So once I'm done here, I will just double click on this last one, so I have all of them selected. So once I have all this selected, the next thing I'm going to do is try and start beveling this edge inward. So if I right click, I go to bevel. Shortcut once again is MS. So let me check if I don't have foregrounding, so it's not on. Then I will start beveling in. So I'll click and drag. Now if you notice, I'm having this star shape. The reason I'm having this star shape, anytime you're beveling in and you're having this star shape look like, it means your beveling is intersecting itself. So how do it means the width is too large such that it is intersecting itself. So if I still have my beveling going on and I hold down shift then drag, I can increase the width of the bevel or reduce the width. So as I'm reducing the width, see what happens. It's no more intersecting on itself. If I go back, now it's intersecting. So I don't want it to intersect. And also if you notice, the depth of my bevel is too much, so I can reduce it by moving my hand from shift and changing it to control. Then I can increase the depth or reduce the depth of my bevel. So once again, if you want to understand more about beveling, you can go to the card at the top and just check it out, and you will understand a whole lot about beveling and how it works. So I think this is fine. I can reduce this width a little bit. I think this is okay. So once I have this deselected and I NA to go back to Gora shading, then this is my golf ball, and that's the end of this tutorial. Do have a wonderful day and God bless you. I was kidding. Alright, this doesn't look more like a golf ball, but then by the time I move this into a spherical object, now it looks more like it. You now have a golf ball, and you will notice some of the edges are smaller compared to some. And if you feel that the detail is not enough, you could just come and increase this value, or you could go back and start beveling the edges of this object, but you don't really want to work with that. If I hit NB, you notice this, you don't really want to work with that too many detail. This is too much. So I think 2 is good for me, and except if you really want to have a close-up shot of it. But if I'm moving out, you can notice that it still looks a lot more like that. But if my rendering is, I'm going to be having a close shot of it, then it is okay for me to have a high resolution of the object. So I think that is it for golf ball, and the next tutorial hopefully I will talk about other ball and explain how to go about and creating those things. So once more, I'm going to leave a card by the side for more tutorials. I have tutorials on my playlist for modeling tips and and for actual project that I made. So you could just click there and follow along in those tutorials, and it really means a lot to me. So do have a wonderful day, and God bless you. Bye.